John 5:33. Vos misistis ad Johannem, et testimonium perhibuit veritati. You sent to John, and he bore witness to the truth. Just a couple of things to comment on here as Jesus continues to talk about the witness that confirms the legitimacy of the truth that he's teaching, the truths that he's teaching. Sent to John here corresponds to an English way of speaking as well. It's perhaps somewhat old-fashioned, but we might say send to the governor and ask for soldiers, or send to my mother and let her know that I have arrived, something like that. We don't use it very often, perhaps in informal contexts in North American English at least, but you could say something similar in Latin, at least in late antiquity. Send to someone with an implied in order to ask for something. So in this case, those that Jesus is addressing had sent to John in order to find out what John had to say about the truth. And John bore witness to the truth. And this is typical in Latin. You offer testimonium, sometimes in the dative case, in order to support a particular idea, a particular statement, a particular person, etc. And that thing or person can go in the dative case as the person or thing to whom witness is borne, we might say. Now, misistis, while we're here, offers us a nice little opportunity to review the perfect active system. So, what verb does this come from? Mitto, mittere, misi, missum. They're the four principal parts. It's the third that we're going to want. See if you can guess these before I write them down. Test your memory. First person singular, misi, I sent or I have sent. Second person singular, misisti. Third person singular, misit. First person plural, misimus. Second person plural, which is what we have here, misistis. Third person plural, miserunt. Always a good idea if you're feeling a little bit rusty on any particular tense or something like that to do what's called a verb synopsis. Here we're just doing the indicative, active, perfect system. But it's fun sometimes, and this is good to do actually also if you're a bit rusty on some of the forms of a verb that you're working with or that you're seeing. Compel yourself to write down on paper in an old-fashioned sort of way every form in every tense, number, mood, and voice that exists of that particular verb. Just to test yourself and to make sure you still got those forms clear and clean in your mind, and you're not going to confuse them with one another. That's a good procedure, especially in the beginning stages of learning a language, in order to make sure that you can recognize and recall the forms that you need to. After you have sufficient practice with the language, you're not going to need to do that hardly ever, and that's simply because it's going to be part of the bedrock of your mind at that point, and you'll be so accustomed to seeing all the different forms that you'll recognize them pretty immediately when you see them. But it takes a little while, it takes some practice to get there. And if you're still climbing up that mountain, don't lose heart. It's worth it. It's worth it for the view at the top.